So the PlayStation 5 Slim system is due out sometime in November, although we kind of have an idea based on some leaks from different retailers that have been posted online. There's going to be a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 bundle, and then apparently a Spider-Man bundle. Sony should be showing up here at some point in the next couple of days with press releases and news around that. But, of course, the system ended up getting out there a bit early, and we have different images of the console comparing it to the current one, and I wanted to go over some of that here today. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new here to the SpawnWave Plus channel. So first things first, let's talk about the ad and the bundle itself for Modern Warfare 3, because we got a price point here, which at $500, that's not bad, actually. I mean, the system by itself would be $500 because it is the disc-based unit, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 would normally be $70 for the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. So that's actually pretty good, and it falls in line with what Sony is attempting to do right now, which is push an incredible amount of systems out the door for this fiscal year. Remember, their current target is 25 million, and they did express to investors that things like discounts on the system would play into them trying to get that number out there, which that would be more than they've ever done, I believe, for a console in a fiscal year, and that includes the PlayStation 2. And I feel like a lot of this is they're trying to make up for what was really lost time with the shortages that they faced early on in the system's life, with everything that was going on logistically for the chip shortage, COVID, shipping, etc. So kind of making up for it here and doing something like this with the obvious popularity around Call of Duty, pairing it with your system, as well as giving basically a discount technically where you get the game for free, I think is obviously a good move, especially for the holidays. And it appears somebody did get it a bit early, which we can see some of the screenshots here. I do want to shout them out. This is from Brandon over on Twitter, or Phantom Pains. They have a bunch of images up on their Twitter account, and I will link that down below if you want to kind of go through the images yourself, zoom in and what have you. But you can see, I mean, the system, I mentioned the glossy white plastic I'm not a huge fan of, and it's very apparent here with some reflections off of it, and then the bottom is just a matte white. I guess they figure if you stand it up, this would more or less make contact with the maybe your countertop or your cabinet or whatever, so it would absorb most of the scratches. But even just glossy plastic can get scratched by dust and stuff that's flying around in the air. So it's not exactly the route I would have gone. I would have just done matte white and then matte black completely. They're comparing it to their PS5 that has the different plates on there. It doesn't have the big popped collar look to it. So this, of course, would be much taller if it was equipped with the standard plates. Nonetheless, this does look significantly smaller, and I think we've been trying to figure out just how much smaller the system was going to be based on the dimensions that Sony shared, and this is obviously the best comparison, the best representation we can see here. The thing that has been brought up, though, with some of these images of it is it looks cheaper, and yeah, I've seen people mention it. It looks kind of like one of those knockoff PlayStation systems you would see at a kiosk in a mall or on AliExpress. And I think it's a lot of the glossy nature to it, but also maybe the size for it, again, being a much smaller system when it comes to the volume. But I'm not a fan of the glossy plastic, although they're going to have covers that they release. So you'll probably be able to replace it with a matte finish cover, maybe in different colors, or maybe they'll just do white that's all matte. But we have the front there, and then we have the back. And this is interesting because they have moved the HDMI port. I assume they maybe had some feedback of, I don't want to say people mixing up HDMI and power, but the mainstream, I've dealt with a lot of the weird stuff out there. But I mean, move the HDMI port up here so it's out of the way of everything else. You don't get it confused with Ethernet port or any of that. And they did actually move the LAN port above the back USB ports as well. So they did rearrange somewhat, and you can see the ventilation, at least on the back for the exhaust, is quite a bit small. I mean, the entire back, really like 9/10 of the back here, is just all exhaust vents. So it does make sense that, yeah, they moved to a smaller fabrication for this slim PlayStation 5, and I would expect it to run quite a bit cooler just based on the ventilation we're seeing set up here, which is great. I mean, the current PS5, I think, does a pretty good job with keeping the system cool, all things considered, that in the Xbox Series, minus some of the issues the PlayStation 5 runs into with the RAM inside that tends to get on the hotter side. You don't really hear your PS5 necessarily. You might feel it because it does still put out quite a bit of heat, but based on what we experienced with the PlayStation 4 generation that got really bad with the PS4 Pro, obviously they've made pretty good strides here, and I would expect the Slim to be very similar. Here's the funny thing, though. Of course, we did talk about that stand that is included kind of with the PS5 Slim. The vertical stand you have to buy separately, right? For like $30 or whatever. They have a horizontal stand, and Brandon took a picture of it here, which all right. We could kind of see it from the image where Sony posted up a rendering, I feel like, of it, and it looked like this little kickstand. Well, there you go. This is the horizontal stand. I'm trying to picture exactly how this works. I mean, they have two of them, so I assume it would go on, like, it'd be separated a little bit to space out and hold it up on two different sides. Yeah, I guess that stand that came with the current PS5 was just way more expensive than I figured, if this is what they're shipping it with now, or maybe they realized that the majority of people have it in the horizontal position. I don't know. It seems very strange to replace the, I guess, heavier duty stand that we have now that can go between horizontal and vertical with something that looks like half of the little table inside your pizza box to keep the top of the box from hitting the cheese. You know what I would have liked to have seen with some of these images is basically what happens when you remove one of these covers, specifically on this side here with the disk drive, because we can see the eject button has been moved to that, which is, I think, a really good idea, since I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes you do get the power and the eject mixed up if you're not looking necessarily, or you just forget really and you haven't removed the disc in a while. You might hit the power instead, or you might hit the eject button instead of hitting the power to turn it off. So I do like that they've separated it and made it very, very obvious, although that might have been out of necessity considering the disk drive is, well, now optional. So I'm still curious kind of how this is all set up internally, considering they have significantly, I'd say, reduced the overall size for this system. And we can see a little bit of I think that's the fan grating poking out right there. But this became very, very interesting all of a sudden to me for the teardown, just based on some of these pretty standard comparison shots that were taken. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below, especially with the bundle coming in at $500. I know Call of Duty gets a certain rap online about people just being over the series, but I mean, it's very popular. This seems like something that's set up perfectly for the holidays, especially for the mainstream. But let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.